Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the weekend that I've just had in Milton Keynes here in the UK, playing in the Axion Mega Modern event. So if you're not familiar with Axion, their Mega Modern event, and most of my viewers I think are from America, so you will never even heard of it. It's basically the closest thing we've got to a GP here in the UK. So on day 1 and day 2 they have different events, they're completely separate. So in day 1, I played my own brew of Pump Zoo and managed to go undefeated in I think it was like a 60-70 player event. And then on the Sunday it was I think about 120 players, and I played what I consider, and I'm going to say this very boldly and confidently, I think is the best domain zoo list that you can put together at the moment. I don't care what anyone says. I honestly played it in one event and it was absolutely insane, and I'm convinced it is the best list you can play in Modern for Domain Zoo. So yeah, it was just a straight net deck. I'm not even going to pretend I built it, I didn't. But I played it in one event, first time I ever played it, managed to top 4 out of about 120 players. The deck was insane. By no means do I think I'm the best player at it, but managed to still do really well with it, and I just think that the overall build is incredible. So stay tuned I'm going to go through both decks, because day 1 I played my own brew and went undefeated, so definitely want to talk about that. But then I'll talk about also what I think is probably the best domain. No, I'm not even going to say probably. What I think is the best domain zoo list in Modern at the moment. So on the Saturday, the list that I played, as I said, it was my own brew, is what I've called Pump Zoo. If you are not familiar with my channel, I've been playing this for about a year now. I've been playing it in loads of RCQs, got a bunch of top 8s with it. It's been doing really, really well for me. And it's just a really, really fun deck to play. If you want to see some gameplay of this deck, then just check out my channel. There's tons of videos of me playing this list. But essentially, I'll give you a quick rundown. You use Wild Nakato, Ragavan, all your zoo creatures, and what you want to do is essentially kill your opponent on turn 3. And the way that you do that is you use Gaia's Might or Might of Alara, which essentially is 1 green mana, give a creature +5/+5. So a huge giant growth, slightly smaller than a Become Immense, but much, much easier because you don't have to worry about delving. So you use a Might of Alara or a Gaia's Might, give a creature +5/+5. Your Kavu is now a 10/10. And then you stick a Team of Battle Rage, give your Kavu Double Strike and Trample. That is turn 3 lethal pretty much every single time. And I'm not even like going out on a limb on saying that. On the day, I did it a bunch of different times against a bunch of different decks. Very, very few people ever expect you to kill them on turn 3, especially using 1 green mana pump spells. So that definitely caught some people off on the Saturday. So that is the list. If you want to see gameplay, as I said, just check out the channel. And then by the end of the Saturday, I was a little bit run down. Been playing the deck for God knows how many hours at this point, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll play something different tomorrow. So there was another list that I came across, which was on Channel Fireball. The deck creator is there. I believe this was the person that made the deck, or at least it's who made the article. And on the morning of Sunday, I thought, you know what, screw it. I've played Zoo for over a year. I know what I'm doing. I'm sure I can just copy someone's list and be okay with it. Definitely not play it perfectly, but I'm sure I'll be fine. So I messaged all my friends on the day and said, who's got any of these cards? What can we put together? And we managed to get pretty much the whole list together. The only thing I didn't have was 3 Flusterstorms. I had 1 from one of my friends, so I then played 2 Spell Pierce. But other than that, this is the list I played. I even had to get Hushbringers from the vendor at the event, but the vendor I think is a European, like French or something, and they only had them in another language, which did definitely cause some problems in in playing the card, because I didn't actually know exactly how it worked because I net decked it on the day. But anyway, it's about 120 players on day 2, on the day 2 event, and I managed to top 8 and then get into top 4. The first and second place both get an invite to the regional championship because it was such a large RCQ. Unfortunately, we only got to top 4, so I lost my winning in to get onto the RC, which would have been sweet. But I am very, very confident in saying that this is the best list for Domain Zoo in Modern. It's the first time I ever played it, and I was just completely blown away by how much more powerful this felt than any other zoo list I've played. So if you are not too familiar with the zoo, the main things that they've changed in here, and probably the most obvious is, first of all, we've not got any cats. And when I say cats, what are we talking about? We are talking about Wild Nakato, which is a 1-mana 3/3, and Neshoba Brawler, however you pronounce that, which is another cat, which is the 5/3 with Trample. Both of these cards are kind of like an obvious inclusion into main zoo. However, in this list, they've opted to go with neither. The reason for this is they both die to Bolt. They're very, very vulnerable creatures. They do have a lot of power for their mana, but they're just a very, very vulnerable creature. So instead, what this deck list has opted to do is to play Tarmogoyf instead, which means that your creatures, or most of your creatures in your deck, now no longer die to Lightning Bolt. You play the normal list, which plays Wild Nakato and Brawlers. You currently have 4 Brawlers, 4 Nakatos, and 4 Ragavans, which all die to Bolt. 12 of the creatures in your deck die to Bolt. In this list, you've cut the Wild Nakato, so that's 4 creatures that are no longer targets for Lightning Bolt, and you swapped out your Brawlers, which die to Bolt, to Tarmogoyfs, which generally don't. So now all of a sudden, your opponent has only got 4 targets for their Lightning Bolts to kill a creature, which is Ragavan, and it doesn't kill anything else in your deck. So the deck is incredibly more, resilient against removal because it just dodges bolts so effectively. If you play a traditional list and you play a Brawler and your opponent bolts it, not only do you get 1-for-1, which is not great in an aggro deck anyway, but you get behind on mana because you spent 2 mana and they've killed it with a 1-mana spell. So you really, really hate Lightning Bolt. This list just does not care about Lightning Bolt. Sure, it kills a Ragavan, but it's fine. The rest of your deck just completely dodges Bolt. So super, super powerful. The second thing that this deck does, which I've seen a lot of zoo lists not do, is it plays Expressive Iteration. And let's not be around the bush. Expressive Iteration is just one of the best cards in Modern. It's just a raw card advantage spell, and it's just incredibly powerful in this list. So the way that this list runs is essentially you play a really good set of 2-drops and you just assume that your opponent can't answer all of them. Sure, they might be able to Fatal Push your Draco or Unholy Heat your Tarmogoyf or whatever, things like that, but they will run out of removal sooner or later. And when they do, all of your creatures are just incredibly large for their mana cost and you just kill your opponent really, really quickly. So you basically just got the best 2-drops in the format. You follow that up with Expressive Iteration for card advantage, Leyline Binding for just some of the best removal in the format. And then if your opponent stumbles around for even 1 or 2 turns more than they should, you just Tribal Flames and bolt them out. So it's just huge, huge creatures, really, really good value, and it's very hard to interact with because your creatures just dodge a lot of removal. Things like Lightning Bolt don't work. If you get a Kavu down early, you can keep exiling their graveyard and they will never actually be able to use Unholy Heat on you. And if your opponent's graveyards do get too big, you've got Tarmogoyfs anyway. So the deck is really, really powerful. The one last thing I do want to mention about this list is because you're not playing Wild Nakato, you then no longer need to play as many early game shock lands to support green, which also means you get to cut down on your triomes in your list. So this land base only plays 1 triome, which I absolutely love. What you can do is you can turn 1 triome, turn 2 mountain, turn 3 plains. You've got domain 5 and you've not even shocked once. So your matchup against your zoo matchup against Burn is incredibly hard typically because of shock lands. This list is significantly better because you're not shocking yourself every turn. And other than that, I don't think there's anything I could honestly improve in this deck. I think this is pretty much the best zoo list in Modern, and I strongly recommend if you want to play zoo, this is the list to run, card for card. As I said, it was the first time I'd ever played it. I managed to top 4 the event with about 120 players, and never did I feel like the deck was not doing what it was built to do. Incredibly consistent, the mana base is great, the creatures are huge, you've got Territorial Kavu to loot yourself into better spells, you're incredibly resilient to things like Grief and Scam because you have Expressive Iteration, your creatures are huge, incredible deck. So I just want to say, if you want to play Zoo, play this. If you want to have more fun and you just want to kill your opponent on turn 3, then play Pomp Zoo. That deck is also sweet. If you want to keep up to date on zoo lists and my results I do in events, make sure to follow me over on Twitter. I've only just started tweeting really, as you can tell by my 46 followers. But yeah, that is the place to be. You can go, as you can see here, I post my lists pretty much straight away when I got the results. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you want to see more zoo content or you want to see some gameplay, check out the channel. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any cards that you want to see tested in zoo, just let me know. I'll probably play them. So thanks for watching, guys, and peace.